Hi everyone, my name is Emma Wine, and today we're going to be talking about how to think like a composer. You may be wondering, how am I qualified to teach you these things? And I'm here to say it's because I am a composer. And to that you may say, I thought composers were people like Bach and Beethoven and Mozart. How can you be a composer? To which I would tell you, there are composers living and working all around you. Every time you hear music in a TV show or a movie, a composer who is living wrote that music. Every time you hear music on the radio, a composer worked on that. Anyone can be a composer, and the first step is to think like a composer. I've studied music for a long time, and I've come up with 3 pillars that I think all music has. And if we learn about these pillars, we can further investigate the music that we love, and the more you listen, the better your ear becomes. Also, if you can analyze how different people write music, it'll make it easier for you to write your own music. And at the end of this lesson, we are going to write our own music. So, come with me, and we'll get started. Thank you to the Ars Lyrica musicians for that rousing and elegant introduction. As I said, there are 3 pillars of music. The first is expectation, the second is action, and the third is momentum. Let's start with expectation. What is an expectation? I like to think of it as when you think you know what's going to happen next. You expect that thing to happen. Now, you see that I've written repetition in parentheses next to the word expectation, and that's because composers set up expectations with repetition. Composers like doing something multiple times because our ears have a chance to understand better what's going on and what's coming. If I said, my favorite number is 847 and my favorite animal is a platypus, you would think, okay, but why does that matter? But if I said my favorite number is 847 and my favorite animal is a platypus, my favorite number is 847 and my favorite animal is a platypus, then you might think to yourself, maybe it's important that she's telling me that. So then, what if I said, my favorite number is 847 and my favorite animal is a platypus? My favorite number is 847 and my favorite animal is a platypus. My favorite number is 847 and my favorite animal is... What is your first guess as to the word I am about to say? Platypus, right? But what if I then said, my favorite number is 847 and my favorite animal is a platypus. My favorite number is 847 and my favorite animal is a platypus. My favorite number is 847 and my favorite animal is an antelope. I've primed your brain to think one way so that when I change the pattern, it's jarring and recognizable that something different is happening. Composers use 3 kinds of repetition to set up expectations: rhythmic repetition, melodic repetition, and harmonic repetition. We'll go over examples of rhythmic and harmonic repetition in this lesson, and we'll get to melodic repetition in the next one. So let's use Vivaldi's La Folia as an example. In this listening session, you'll listen for this rhythmic pattern. Short, long, short, short, long, short, short, long, and so on. Let's take a listen. Awesome. So Vivaldi has set up this expectation of short, long, short, short, long, short, short, long in his rhythm. Let's hear how he breaks it. Did you hear it? At the very end of the passage, you're waiting for that short bit, but instead, Vivaldi gives the cello this faster descending line we've never heard before, which leads us deeper into the piece. We're leaning forward, wondering when that short bit is going to come, but it doesn't. Instead, Vivaldi leads us into the next phrase. Let's listen one more time, just to make sure we've got it. And now, the most important question we can ask ourselves when we notice something interesting happening in the music we listen to is why? Why do you think Vivaldi broke our expectations right there in that way? Take a few seconds to think about it. A few reasons I came up with were because he wanted to lead us into the next phrase, or because he wanted to keep us engaged after all that sameness of rhythm, or because he wants to give you a sneak peek that the piece will eventually speed up. Composers love to set up expectations. They love lulling us into this mindset of thinking that we know where we're going, and then suddenly rounding a corner and saying, but only I, the composer, know the whole roadmap. So we used rhythm for the last example, and we're going to use harmony for the next example. Harmony is when two or more pitches are played together at the same time. For example, let's have you sing this pitch. La. Try it now. Good. So now, let's sing it in the rhythm that we just learned about. Short, long, short, short, long. Okay? We'll sing it together and we'll do it 4 times. 1, 2, 3. La, 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 la. Great job. So now we're going to create harmony. You're going to stay on this pitch. La. Meanwhile, I am going to sing this pitch. La. And we'll create harmony together. So, we're going to sing on your pitch 4 times, and then you're going to keep singing on your pitch, and I'll move up to my pitch. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. La, 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 la. Keep going. La, 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 la. We just made harmony. So now let's listen in the music. You'll hear one harmony repeated over one unit of short, long, short. And then the harmony is going to change. Short, long, short. And then it changes again. Short, long, short. It's much easier to hear in the music than if you're listening to me describe it. So let's hear it now. So now, let's tune our ears on that pattern, and we'll see when it changes. Did you hear that? Let's listen to the whole thing one more time just to make sure. And you can follow along to the visual so that you can see what's going on as well as hearing it. And again, let's look at the why. Why did Vivaldi choose to change up the speed the harmony changed? Why did he break that expectation he set up? Take a few seconds to come up with some answers of your own. A few of my reasons were that he wants to create tension as he leads us from one phrase to the next. He wants to keep you engaged and show you that if you stop paying attention, he's going to change something to reel your interest back in, or maybe he wants to show you how smart he is and play around with harmony in a cool way. He writes this very graceful, elegant phrase and then inserts this crunchy, tension-filled harmony before coming back to his home base of graceful and elegant. The second pillar of music is action. Composers don't want to make one musician do all the work, and they also don't want you to get bored, so they spread out the action between instruments. The action could mean who's playing the highest, who's playing the fastest notes, or who's playing the loudest. The two violins have definitely gotten most of the action in the passage we've been hearing, so let's go on a bit and see who else gets it. For the second variation, we'll analyze the action together. What I want you to do is one of two things. You can point to who you think has the action and who it gets passed to, or you can say aloud who has the action. The three groups we'll be focusing on are the cello, the violins, and everyone, since there will be times where everyone has the action. Okay, here we go. Did you hear how the violins went? And then the cello went. That constant action of shifting between players really grabs our attention. It's like watching a game of tennis. You're constantly turning from side to side to see all of the action. Let's listen again. Let's try another variation, except this time you'll try to pinpoint the action on your own first, and then we'll look at it together. The three people you need to be watching here are one violinist, the first violin, the other violinist, the second violin, and everyone. Let's do it. Wow, that was a lot of action. Here's what I got. Now don't worry if you didn't get that. Action can mean a lot of different things, and composers put different types of action in their pieces. A lot of the time, there will even be multiple kinds of action happening at one time. Someone may be loudest, but someone else may be playing the fastest. As long as you listen with purpose, figuring out what is happening and why it's happening, you're developing your composer ear. The last pillar is momentum. I love this pillar because it serves as a very useful how-to when I'm writing my own music. It's a pretty simple concept. The end of something should go faster than the beginning unless you're ending a phrase. It's basically physics. Newton's first law states that an object in motion stays in motion unless another object gets in its way. Music is very similar. Music in motion should stay in motion unless a composer decides to put something in the way, like the end of a phrase. This applies most broadly to rhythm, so let's use row, row, row your boat as an example. The first line of row, row, row your boat is row, row, row your boat. Here's the rhythm. Do you hear how the momentum just stops? It's like someone put on the brakes when we were just getting started. But check this out. Since row, row, row your boat is around, people will be singing different parts of the song at the same time. So the first person sings row, row, row your boat. And then the second person sings row, row, row your boat as the first person sings gently down the stream. It sounds like this when they do it together. Gently down the stream, row your boat. So the rhythm for gently down the stream is, and for row, row, row your boat is. If you put them together, like when two people are singing together, it sounds like this. Okay, now we're getting some more momentum. We still have a big pause at the end, though, so let's keep going. The phrase merrily, 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 merrily sounds like this. Merrily, 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 merrily. And on top of the first two lines, it sounds like this. Gently down the stream, merrily. There. Now we have momentum. Listen to the rhythms all on top of each other. So now we're tumbling into the last phrase. We've built so much momentum. Here's what the rhythm sounds like when four people are singing row, row, row your boat. So here's what it sounds like when four people sing row, row, row your boat. Listen to how it has a really nice arc where it starts with not that much momentum and then it builds and builds and builds, and then the end of the song slows down the momentum and stops. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, gently down the stream, merrily, life is but a dream, merrily, life is but a dream, merrily, life is but a dream. So now let's take a listen to a few more variations of La Folia. I want you to focus on the three pillars of music: expectation, action, and momentum, and see what you can pick up from the music. Here we go. an exciting ride, and what a fantastic performance. I had such a good time listening and learning and analyzing with you. And the cool thing is that you can use the 3 pillars of music to listen more deeply to not just classical music, but also the latest Lady Gaga release that you heard on the radio, or your favorite Disney song, or even jazz. So in the next lesson, we'll go into a couple of my favorite songs and look at how they fulfill the 3 pillars of music. And we'll also look at a popular song that I don't think fulfills the 3 pillars. And you know what we're gonna do with it? We're gonna rewrite it. See you there.